All right.
And we are live. Welcome, thrice welcome to JWC Livestream. This is JWC Livestream. We're doing Bookcraft, JWC Bookcraft. What is Bookcraft? Bookcraft is, well, I write every day. And I've been writing novels and novels and novels. Now, what do I do with these novels? They lay around as manuscripts. Well, Bookcraft is when you take it to the next step. Your creative obsession goes to the next step, and you start worrying about cover art, overall length, industry standard. Where am I putting it in print so people can read it, so the muse can be honored? So once a month, we like to talk Bookcraft, and we have a very, very special show for you today. But first and foremost, introductions are in order, reintroductions, however you want to put it. Tom, are you there?
I'm here. Welcome. How's everything?
Oh, fantastic, man. Fantastic. I'm glad you're with us. Tom's having a little technical difficulty on his end, which we're striving to resolve. Hopefully for next week, that'll get done. So his camera's not working, and that's unfortunate. But this is how it is. Now, while we'll get started here, we'll overlook all that. Tom, how have you been, and how's your creativity going? Your creative obsession? What have you been working on?
Oh, really good. I'm about 5,000 words into a new Pencrim story. What the heck is the name of it? I've written so many lately. This one is the one it's The Deadly Mile. It's based on the Beast of Bray Road. It's about a road that all of a sudden has this enormous amount of paranormal activity, and people are dying along the road. So Pencrim comes in and he calls in some allies. This is a really different story. Instead of his friend Amos and his fiancee Allison, who's a witch, he calls in other people because they're busy. And so it's I sort of introduced something called the International Fortean League, which is an international body that investigates paranormal activities and mysteries and things. And they're very, very organized, and they're on every continent except maybe Antarctica. And
maybe.
Yeah. And they're really have somebody finances them. I don't know who yet, but they have a lot of money to play with to organize and make a gigantic database. And they have places where they keep all their specimens and evidence. And so in the Pencrim world, the paranormal is not poo-pooed. It's pretty much accepted by almost everybody, especially law enforcement, who they work with Pencrim. When he shows up, it's you're here, and so it's a little easier to get things done, a little to investigate. The press loves a good story, so they're really big on these investigations and things, and so that one's really, really good. I'm about 5,000 words into that, where they're investigating. There's only 6 houses on Old Hobbins Road, and they all seem to be haunted. So something that's opening up the gateways and letting all these wild things in. Devil dogs and spook orbs and lightning, killer lightning, and giant snakes, and all these wild things. That something in the houses, when they see a light in the upstairs, they go upstairs and there's nothing there, and they hear growling from downstairs or upstairs, and so there's a lot of wild stuff going on in this story. And
awesome.
So
sounds great, man. Pencrim's
so
always a treat,
Yep. So my aim this year is to get the 8 or 9 Pencrim stories done. I have almost all of them, and get them between 2 covers and put them up on Amazon. The John Pencrim Chronicles Volume 1 is
Very
coming.
cool.
I'm hoping by the time I go to Florida, I can maybe get that up. And
Yeah, and then rev it for Halloween, rev it.
yeah.
Like we got to have you do some reads.
Hmm.
Sounds excellent. Anything else you're working on, Tom?
Well, there's a continuing Bride of Frankenstein story that still doing lots of background research on history of Europe in the 19th century. So finding places where she could go to get in the middle of things, so to speak. She's not one to be in the background, although they would probably kill her if they knew who she was.
Or what she was.
Right.
She may be fair enough and how is it, cunning enough with disguise where she can veil herself.
Yeah. She
Yeah.
becomes like a one-woman crusade against evil and just how terrible people could be because how she was treated when she was created. She just wants to make a better world. She single-handedly, she almost prevents World War I from happening one time because when the Archduke of Ferdinand, someone goes to kill him, and she and her cohorts stop that one assassin, but they don't get there in time the second time they try. So it's
That's
she's got her
brilliant.
fingers in history. So
Yeah,
that's
man.
pretty cool. I like that a lot. And I'm
Very.
working on also a deep into second edit of Blood on the Sand, my Florida novel.
Awesome.
I found a good way to correct a lot of problems that I had with working with audio for Word, dictation, which is a terrible software.
Yeah.
It causes
I'm
more problems than it's worth.
I'm happy. I'm really happy I can type and type quick.
So I'm good with my two fingers. I'm pretty quick. So I'm doing my 1,000 words a day. This month I'm almost at 40,000 words, so I'm good.
Wonderful. That's wonderful. Um, glad to hear it, man. All that sounds fantastic. I've been swinging at Exsanguinator, that vampire book. Out of a 40,000 word zero draft, I only have 6,000 words left. I've been throwing down like 2,000 a day for I don't know, almost all of last month, I guess. And it's all. I mean, I'm having a blast writing it, and it's all coming together like really good. It's been a blast. I haven't touched the essays in a while. I want to get back and finish that one, probably when this story's done. I have so many projects to do this year. It's like it's excellent, but it's also like it's all over the place. I'm going to take some time while I'm editing to throw down some poetry. And I have another book I'm going to be outlining that I have to do, Journey to the Mountain. I have to do it. It's like very important. So, but it's been great doing all that stuff, writing, getting it all down. And, things have been fantastic in that regard. Creatively, it's one thing you could count on if you're creative obsessive. The world gets so crazy sometimes, but it's like you always have the ability to center yourself in your creativity. And so we have been checked in creatively, and now we know. Everyone listening, you got to throw down, like Tom said, and Tom is echoing Stephen King. You may have heard of him. Fairly prolific writer. He said if you write 1,000 words a day, you can basically write anything. So Tom is swinging for 1,000. Tom, I know, Tom, you could do way more than 1,000, but you throw down 1,000 at least. Yeah.
I did 1,300 today. It all depends on my time, and it all depends on what I'm in the middle of.
Sure.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too. I mean, some days are busier than others, but Lately, it's been 2,000 words a day, which is really great. Um, so we get to the whole idea of bookcraft. Bookcraft ultimately revolves around the print industry, publication. If it be online, if it be actual hard copies, paperbacks or periodicals, newspapers. A lot of people say that stuff is on its way out the door, but I don't know that books will ever go out of fashion. Not for me. So I'm always thinking in terms of projects. My muse dreams and I have goals, and my goals are projects. It's the same thing. You have little bitty daily goals like your word yield, like we were just talking about. But in the ultimate sense, you're crafting chapters and you're putting a book together by design. And some people like Tom. Tom's a pantser. Nothing wrong with that. I used to be one myself. Pantsing, I mean, especially with a voice like Tom's, it's like, whatever, that's fine. I'm a plotter. I design outlines, what I call word budgets. And the word budgets plug into chapter budgets, and the chapter budgets turn into the book. So you get an idea of how long a book you want to write. People, they like to talk disparagements about novellas. I kind of like novellas still. A lot of people complain because they want everything. They want soup to nuts, But in the case of novellas, sometimes you can get a micro quick of something cool. And, it allows for a certain kind of pacing, a certain kind of action. So everybody's got their preferences. I put my books up for ebooks too, like on Kindle or whatever. And I have a hard copy, and I'm reaching into audiobooks, but there's plenty of things to do when it comes to modern publishing. One of the things that we're going to talk about, the main subject about all this wonderful stuff, because if you write, you want your stuff to be read. If you want it to be read, it's got to go in print. People have to be able to get it, and it would be nice if you made a little bread on the side, and eventually your sales pick up, and who knows what marvelous dream can come true for you. So many have the dream of being a big name, a household name in print, and there's many roads to get there. Few they are who follow it all the way to the end. It's not always so easy. Now, what we're talking about today is a specific kind of publishing. It comes out of the old serials, I'm to understand, and it's Amazon Vella. Is that right, Tom?
Right.
Now, Tom, maybe you could tell us about Vella, unpack what you know. I'd especially like to know, like, what drew you to Vella? How did you hear about it? And what really inspired you to take that path of serialized print?
All right. Bella's been around about 14, 15 months. It was launched by Amazon, and it's a throwback to the 19th century, where in the 19th century there were hundreds of literary magazines here and in England, etc., where they would get a story, a novel. Charles Dickens liked to do this, so did Arthur Conan Doyle with his Sherlock Holmes stories, where Dickens would take one of his books and break it into 40 or 50 parts. And every week there would be a new part of, Bleak House by Charles Dickens, part 15, 16, 17. And people would just eat it up, and it sold a lot of magazines, a lot. So what Vella is sort of a modern reworking of that idea, where you could take a novel or a story, which basically would become a novel, and break it into 12 to 1,300 word pieces are sort of the sweet spot. And they're called episodes. And you would put them up, start a story, and you would put them up however your schedule, how many times as you want a week. Some people do it once a week. Some people do it a couple times a week. I do mine Sunday, Tuesday, and Thursday evenings. I put up brand new episodes. I have a very big fantasy novel. The first part is about 700 pages, and I'm taking that since it was kind of very loose, and I'm breaking that into a Vela novel. And so far, the 15th part episode will go live. Just went live tonight, and so far I've got some very good feedback. I've got a dozen or so subscribers. What it is that you subscribe to the story. You've got tokens, which are relatively cheap. 100 for $10, something in that neighborhood. And you every episode costs 1 token per 100 words. So if you do 1200 word episode like I like to do, it's 12 tokens, which is pittance. And the key with Vela is when you start reading Vela, you read the first 3 chapters of anything. This is how I think it goes. And Amazon sends you an email that'll give you 500 free tokens.
Oh, cool.
And you can spend those tokens on anything. And what authors do is they say, "Hey, read my story. You could read the first, say, 40 chapters for free without it costing you a nickel." You know, and you can't demand that they do that. But as a suggestion, you could just say, if you like my story, just keep on use those 500 tokens, and then you'll really be deep into the story. Hopefully they'll continue on. Now the tokens are worth money to the author. There's some kind of formula that they work out that you get 100 tokens is worth 18 cents or some kind of wild something like that. And so the free tokens can be used when you use the free tokens to subscribe. Tokens are tokens, whether they're free tokens or whether you bought the tokens. As far as that's again, as far as I know, and you could use so if you've got all these people that have these 500, say if I get 10 people that have 500 tokens, I could get potentially 5,000 tokens that they don't spend any money on that. But for me, who knows what that could be worth, 5,000 tokens. Now, there's people making really very, very, very good money in the thousands of dollars a month, doing these Vela stories. And it's very competitive, and it's hard. There's a lot of things you could do. If you happen to like it, you can click on a favorites. There's a thing that you could favorite, and if you get enough favorite votes, you get a little crown on your story saying this, and people see that crown and say this is one of the highest rated stories of its genre. There's a whole lot. There's about 75 genres and subgenres, and so you're basically hoping to churn out and get enough interest where people are subscribing enough where your Amazon sees, oh, this guy has 50 people steadily subscribing to his story, or 100 people, or 1,000 people, and there's a whole mathematical formula that will keep. So it's sort of like a bestseller list. Vela has the top episodes of the week or the month or whatever, week by week, and they'll have the top stories, and so it has its own flow that if someone's poking around looking for something interesting, they look at the top of the list and they might see my story, which is of thieves, dragons, and O'Hara. They say, that sounds really interesting, and they'll read the description. That sounds pretty cool. I'll read the first 3 for free and see what happens. And they go from there. And so the key is to put the episode up, and then I go on Facebook and Twitter and Pinterest, and I say my new episode's up. Boom, and I have about 15 writers groups on Facebook that I put my link up for, and hopefully it'll start to catch fire and do really well. And so because I have another book that I just found, it's a little older. I just found the entire manuscript, and I'm going to turn that into a Vela novel as soon as I can. That's called Ryan Dakalos and the Great Curlew of Mars. It's about a heist to steal the largest diamond in the solar system in the year 2427. and it's a
Nice.
first person story, and I really had a phenomenal time writing from this guy's point of view that he's a thief,
Mhm.
and he'll steal from anybody. He'll steal from his grandmother, but he's kind of likable in a lot of ways, and he's got a lot of good friends, and he puts together a crew to go to Mars, which is off limits. No one's allowed to go to Mars, but they're going to go there anyway and steal this diamond that's in, somewhere in the base that was abandoned 150 years ago in the story. So that's a lot of fun. That's going to be pretty cool. A lot of chasing, a lot of creatures, a lot of intrigue, a lot of political, a lot of gigantic casino ships that are in orbit around the Earth. I mean, so
Yeah, and so you're gonna branch out in multiple genres on Vela
hmm,
because for the first one's a fantasy, this one sounds more like science fiction.
right,
And you drop posts. You said your post is like 1,200 words, and that's uniform because you're trying to maintain a certain token budget for
right,
them, right?
right.
Now, did you do any research to determine these budgets, like as far
Oh,
as your word dump versus the tokens, and how often you
sure.
post? Like, did you what? How did you come about all
I
that?
went on YouTube and I started looking. There's a lot of groups out there, a lot of Bella groups on YouTube, and I just listened to a number of podcasts about how I got started on Bella. What's the best way to work on Bella? Now uh, for people, if you're going to start a Bella novel, they recommend that at the end of each episode end on a cliffhanger or with a question or something to keep people intrigued. Oh my God, I
Always,
got to find out what's
yeah.
happening next. So you don't want somebody to say like, and Mary went upstairs and went to bed because people won't care about the Mary goes to bed. But if like Mary got dressed to go to bed and there was a monster waiting at the top of the stairs
Yeah,
and you stop
or
there,
under the bed. Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Something grabbed her
Yeah.
under. She sat down and something grabbed her ankles. So you have to keep that interest up.
Oh yeah,
So
profitable to do that under any circumstance, really. So they have this great algorithm that they use, and everybody there's tokens spent and reads, and I guess maybe there's reviews or something. Do you know whether or not that algorithm helps? Like, say if I did Adela and it blew up and got really big, would they also suggest actual books by the same author? Or is it
um,
just for Vela? I don't know if I'm dropping a
I'm
heavy one on
thinking
you
about
here.
whether there's an author's page, there's an author's introduction. I think you could actually just say that, I do this and this. I do knitting, and I raise cattle, and I also write books about cattle. And here are the titles. I think that's in the author introduction that you can create. Uh,
Okay, so
Bella's
it, it
been changing over the past 15 months. It was really clunky in the beginning. It's getting more smoother now, and you can do more. Uh, but yeah, you can do and it's also that link. The Vela novel is put part of your author's page on your KDP, your Kindle Direct Publishing, so you can have your books and your Vela novels on your author's page. It's
mm,
all sort of tied together, and if
yeah,
someone likes your work, they should be able to find your other works in print, so to speak.
sure. Yeah, well, that's what I was wondering about because if it's all linked by an author page, and then you like and follow the author, then all that stuff is interrelated and can be used. I mean, it's obviously a self-contained marketing system within itself with the tokens and everything, but you could use it to further your own, like whatever other things you're doing through Amazon just as much.
Hmm.
So that's actually really cool. So you heard about it when it came on, and you're emulating it because it's sort of like retronautic, like it's gone back to the old serials, the way that it was in magazines.
Right. I mean,
Um,
they still did it. The serialized things existed until the maybe the 1970s, because I
Mhm.
remember there's some great science fiction novels that were serialized in Collier magazine and et
Mhm.
cetera. And the old pulps were serialized whole novels, 4 or 5
Sure.
pieces. They would do them. And so when that kind of fell away, when the magazines kind of died off, the
Mhm.
late 70s or whatever, the pulps and the those kind of magazines. But now you could do it electronically, which is amazing. Now, what I did is I also, like I said, did the YouTube research, and I do that a lot. I go, so that's why it pops
Mhm.
up and says like people that do new things. It goes, how I found a new cool thing to do on Bella, boom, or there's a new algorithm, new tweak, new, so that's something I keep up on as far as trying to improve my situation on Bella. Uh, right now, it's kind of still, I think, an experiment for Amazon, and they have a bonus. Oh, they have a if you do well enough, there's a chunk of money that they give out every few months for people that do well enough, and they a lot of newcomers get these nice big chunks of money that bonuses that you know, and that's beyond the tokens.
Mm.
You get that they have this bonus thing, which is very intriguing. So I'm going to see how far I can go. I have enough. This book is big enough where I could do 2 or 3 years worth of episodes. So I don't know what the limit, if there's any limit to doing a Vela story. I'm just going to keep on going until Amazon says, "Is this going to end anytime soon?" So
Yeah,
another,
reach for the stars. I mean, maybe you could drop the most, like the longest amount, you know?
yeah. And there's another cool thing about Bella is if you get enough episodes in, let's see if you get enough episodes put together where you can have 250-page ebook, you can take that, put it together in an ebook, and you have to wait 30 days after that last chunk of it was published on Bella, and you could put that out as an ebook and a paperback and a hardcover. So that's another thing you could do with Vela is you get enough material together, you could create an ebook from it. It doesn't matter; it could be any size you want, but I'm shooting for about 200 pages. Uh,
I'm glad they're so flexible. That was going to be one of my other questions. What is it as far as do they allow you to do multimedia or print it in other places? And they do. So that's very cool.
so I'm looking forward to putting that out as an ebook.
Mm,
So what my process is take my original draft, clean, I went sure I second draft, split it up into 1,200 word chunks and put those out, and then do a third word file, take the episodes and just turn them into chat, put them into the word and take out the episode, all the episode titles, and just create chapters until I have
hmm
enough pages. When I hit 250 pages on that third master word file, then I'm going to I'll put a date on at the end, and I'll say when I have 35 days after that date,
hmm
I'm going to turn it into an ebook. So that's kind of my master plan, and
Well, it sounds fantastic. You
so
know, sounds fantastic. Why don't you tell us about the main character of this Vela, just so our audience, in case they want to reach out and check it out, they can. You know,
sure.
because I'm gonna drop the link on the video for them at some point. So,
If there's the main character, his name is Max O'Hara. He's an engineer at an automobile factory in plant in Indiana. And one night he's driving home 2 o'clock in the morning. His last day, he's just retired. He's going to go off with his wife and just have a good time, tour the U.S. or whatever. He's driving home and he sees this dark square in the road. He says, "I don't remember any tunnel being here." So he drives into it. The next thing he knows, he wakes up in the mud in the village of Valtor in the kingdom of boy oh boy, the kingdom of Rivina in the world of Verema. And he's lying in front of at the front gate of the character. Her name is Shirella. She's the sheriff. Well, actually, the champ. It's called she's the champion of the city of village of Valtor, sort of like the sheriff. And she says, "Oh my God, another one," because these people just drop in from nowhere. So O'Hara has no memory. He doesn't remember his first name. He only remembers his last name is O'Hara, and no, he doesn't have any memory. What happened was in Varema, 100,000 years previously, something slammed into the world and caused the Great Darkness, and most of the humanoid species died off. And the gods didn't like that. They like Varema to be happy and have full of people. So they started plucking people from other worlds in the nearby, the galaxy nearby, and dropping them. They set up a system where these people automatically would drop into the world, and their memories are erased. So essentially, on Varema, there's 6 extraterrestrial species, humanoid species, living on this world, and there it's So this is about O'Hara. O'Hara's arrival touches off a gigantic worldwide war, because there's an ancient prophecy that says that this particular person would inherit a god shard, which are there's 15 god shards in.
All right,
right?
Tom.
Anyway.
Tell us about the God shards, Tom.
God shards. Back when the gods started doing this thing with plucking people from nowhere and dropping them into Vrema, something stopped them, and the gods are no longer able to have anything to do can no longer interfere with the everyday goings on of Varema. So what somebody I like to call the god of the gods took a little piece of the power from each of the 15 gods and goddesses and put them in these god shards, which are jewels, and they scattered the god shards across the world. And when people inherit them, they're born with them at their side, and these god shards are yours as long as you are alive. And each of the god shards has a certain power and influence over a couple of things. Like Shirella, her god shard, it gives her influence over time and dragons. And O'Hara's is wind and tortoises. So his god shard is for Pridara, the goddess of the 4 winds, which means if he gets good enough, he could control the wind, and partially control the weather, clouds and things. And Shirella has the ability to, if someone comes after her, she can pause time for a second so that she can move, and nobody else. She gets about 2 seconds to get it out of the way of this guy, or to punch the guy in the face, or if it's a big creature, to cut its throat before time catches up with her. So it's that kind of. So all 15 shards have a creature and some sort of ability, a natural ability that they're associated with. And so O'Hara is the first. They're called strangers. Anybody that drops in on Varema, they're called strangers. O'Hara is the first and only stranger to inherit a god shard, which was prophesied 10,000 years before, that when that happens, this war will start that will decide the fate of the entire world, whether it's going to be crushed under dictatorship or everybody's going to become free. And
it sounds very, very cool, Tom. Like very, very good high fantasy. And I mean, you've read bits and pieces of Shirella stories on past episodes. So, I mean, all of those were fantastic. So I think anybody who's interested in swords and sorcery and high fantasy, this guy's got a fantastic voice for that. For Expo, his dialogue's great, his action's great, his characters are fantastic. Go check it out. I certainly will be. I don't know if I have tremendous ambition to do the Vela, but I am sort of thinking about a project like that, you know. Maybe even Exsanguinator. What is it like for ratings? Like, can you write anything or
Oh
like
yeah, there's some. Oh boy, I won't say NC-17 rated, but there's some R-rated, a lot of R-rated. There's a lot. Romance is like king on
uh,
Vela,
I
and there's a
see
lot of
erotica?
yeah, a lot of that, a ton. I mean, it's because in print, romance, those paranormal romances are gigantic, and that's the biggest category on Vela, paranormal romance. And there's no holding back. I mean, there's a little warning, you have to put a little a ding on, says this is for adults only or whatever, and there is a way to warn people, but yeah,
Mm,
so it's
maybe
hmm,
maybe I can do Exsanguinator as a Vela. Maybe
it's
I'll
kind of
think about.
short.
Well, yeah, I don't know that I want to build the Tower of Babel with this thing. I just kind of want to experiment with it.
Yeah, that would work. Now the key is you can't take an existing ebook and turn it into a Vela novel, but you could take your Vela novel and turn it into an ebook. That's perfectly
Yeah,
allowed. So you couldn't take, say, your Malathorian stories.
no,
Was it, you know, um, and turn them
yeah,
into Vela unless you took them off.
yeah.
Those would be
Well,
really good because they're really big.
yeah, but that's why I'm thinking about using like doing Vela with this Exsanguinator. I know it's a novella, it's short, but it would be a good way to experiment. Now,
Sure.
those chapters average 2,000 words. Like, you chose 1,200 for a reason, or
Um,
could you drop them at any length? Is what I'm saying.
sure. You could put I think the it's up to 5,000 words, but I all my research, some people say that I think it's like 12 to 1,800 words is the sweet spot. You want to
Hmm.
there's a movie, broadcast news or whatever. No, it's a broadcast, something about a Jeff Goldblum was a writer, played a writer for People magazine, and he said the key with People magazine is you want to I'll clean it up. You want your article to only be long enough for the average bathroom visits, right? So that's kind of why my model here. It's on someone's phone. They don't have a whole lot of time. They could probably 1,200 words is a quick read, and
Yeah,
they could
yeah,
go on.
right
So
on.
that's kind of what I'm aiming for. Something that's quick and fun to read, and won't take all day to
Mm.
get into. You know,
Yeah,
um,
yeah. So that's great, Tom. That gives us a lot to think about. And now maybe even I'll start fooling around with Vela myself. Very informative, Tom. Thank you very much for that presentation. And in subsequent bookcraft shows, we're going to circle back to this and kind of ask you how things are going with it. We'll do that periodically every couple months or so just to see.
sure.
Thanks a lot. Time flies when you're having fun, folks, and we've reached the end of this particular show today. Um, Go to joeswritersclub.com, check out our author pages and our blogs. Head over to joeswriters.club, sign up for our forums. Go to Joe's Writers Club, JWC, on all social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, etc. And do check out our YouTube channel, JWC, Joe's Writers Club YouTube. Please like and subscribe and share to your friends if you like the content that we produce. Because the more people that hear, the more people we can help with their creative obsession, which is what we're all about at JWC. We can't make you a better writer, but JWC hopes to make you a different writer. And sometimes that's just as good for the refining of your voice and the mastering of your craft, your creative obsession. Thanks again, Tom. That was really cool. And
Hmm.
thanks to all our listeners for listening. And we'll see you again real soon. Take care.